What's up, guys? You are all doing a really terrific job in your discussion posts and process documents. So I am enthusiastic about my decision to keep the expository writing kind of to a minimum. We don't have any big argument analysis essays. Most of this sort of academic style writing comes in the process documents, but just as a refresher, I'm going to spend a minute going over some guidelines to writing an academic paragraph in MLA. So I wrote a sample. So just quickly, remember that MLA heading is your name, my name, course title, and the date. And then double space, and then just like we learned in the short lecture yesterday on alignment, you want to align center, and that aligning your title in the center is the thing that tells the reader that that is the title. So the only other thing that happens in a title is that articles and prepositions are not capitalized. But no, don't put it in bold, don't put it in a bigger font, it's not a heading, doesn't need to be underlined, etc. So, and then a quick note, even if your instructor doesn't ask for a title, especially for bigger projects, go ahead and throw one on there, right? Okay. So the prompt asks you, according to one or more of the authors that we've read so far this semester, how do our ideas about the future shape society, technology, and/or ecology? So you're free to answer this in any of the combinations you find most useful. Obviously, you probably want to answer with the author or authors' ideas that you plan on working with in your poster. So I open with this sentence that both responds to the prompt and then produces an arguable claim. So Rob Nixon argues that a lack of consideration for the future has especially negative consequences for small nations and historically marginalized communities in large nations. My assumption is a lot of you guys may have spent time in high school writing argument and then shoring up that argument or persuading your reader of the effectiveness of that argument through evidence. The difference that all those techniques still hold in college level writing and through professional academic writing, which is the type of work I do, right? So I write essays like the essays that we're reading. The difference is at the academic level, the claim is going to be more nuanced, right? So you just need to make a statement that could reasonably be disagreed with, right? So I could easily come back and say like, is that what Nixon's arguing in his essay, right? Is this really an essay about notions about like consideration of the future? And then I would have to persuade my reader not only of the rightness of my claim, but of the usefulness of it. So that's another key thing. So you're not trying to beat the reader over the head with your claim, but rather put different things into consideration. So, all right. So I make my claim. And then I'm eventually going to have to support that claim through the analysis of evidence, right? But I don't want to jump right in, right? So you want to give your reader time to acclimate to the ideas that you're sharing with him. So like I say you want a little bit of a transition that puts into context, that contextualizes the move that you're going to make from claim to citation. So one good way to do that, one good way to move, especially from the claim into these development sentences, is look at what's in the predicate of the sentence, right? So we got small nations and historically marginalized communities in large nations. That's the information that I ended with. Why not go ahead and start your next sentence with that information that they already know, and then open up an explanation of that information, right? So this is called the known new contract. So I've got marginalized communities and large nations. That's what's new info that I introduced. And then since small nations and historically marginalized communities. And now I'm going to explain what that means. Your reader will thank you for the sort of like careful moving through of complicated ideas. So these communities are great face greater impact because they are least likely to contribute to the effects, the consequences, right? So Nixon suggests his readers adopt strategies to better communicate factors that imperil the future for all but the most affluent. One reason societies are unable to preserve the future from environmental catastrophe is an inability to recognize and communicate the slow buildup of pollution and effluent. Okay, so now I've unfolded what comes in my initial claim. And now I'm ready to drop in my citation. So we've made it to here, right? Now I want to cite a couple of key lines from my source. You want to consider the ratio of how long your paragraph is to how much text you're citing. And of course, the text, like what genre of text you're citing, and then that'll kind of determine how much of the text to cite and which bits and pieces of the text to cite. So I went ahead. Nixon calls the slow leaks, emissions, and accretions invisible to media and the general public slow violence. All right, so quick MLA note. Nixon is named in a signal phrase. So his last name does not need to go in the parentheses, according to MLA. So if the author's named in the signal phrase, then just the citation. So anything verbatim from the text is wrapped in quotations, and then page number followed by a period. Quick note, if this had been Cohen, there's no page numbers in Cohen. So for anything with no page numbers, you'll switch over to paragraph, and paragraph gets a period, and then whatever the number range is, period on the outside. If you were citing 4 or more lines of text, it would become a block quote, and then it would be noted a little bit different. I'll put a link into block quotes later on. Okay, so now I follow through with a longer citation. Because the media is only equipped to cover large explosions and dramatic gas leaks, they miss the, quote, slow violence that is rapid, in geologic terms, but unlike a tsunami, fast enough to constitute breaking news. All right, so you can go ahead and be as explicit as you like here, because we've come to here. So you want to do the close analysis. And so this part, the analysis of the citation of the example of the object under consideration, is really what the audience showed up to see, right? This is the thing that you're going to do. It's where the magic happens, right? So go ahead and lay it bare, right? So according to me, what I think Nixon is saying is that by the time oil spills such as Valdez or Deepwater Horizon make national news, prevention is too late. All right, so that's my analysis that tacks back up to my broader claim, right? So here's my claim about what I said Nixon says and about these topics broadly. Here's the citation that supports my initial claim, but now, reader, I am going to interpret for you. I'm going to show my work, right? All right, so now you're at the end. You've done all these things. You've done your topic, got your transition, dropped in your citation. Side note, always more powerful to drop the citation, embed it into the sentence than it is to just like pop it in there. You guys already know that. I've done my close reading, and then now I'm at the conclusion. So I got a lot of options in front of me, right? One thing I really need to do is I want to tie that analysis back into the larger goal of the paragraph. Because of the way that Nixon writes his paper, right, that paper really is a kind of call to produce alternative rhetorical memes or articles or images to redress what Nixon sees as like the twin problems of both climate change and like a lack of rhetoric available to communicate that climate change. And so I don't have it listed here, but the way that I ended my sample paragraph is to interrogate or explain Nixon's kind of call to action, right? So this is my big finale. Or wait here. here's my book finale. Okay, so to redress the failure to communicate the causes that underlay the inevitable disasters necessitated by the oil and gas industry, Nixon suggests an alternative communicative strategy, such as the signing of a declaration for reduction of carbon emissions held by Mohammed Nasheed, president of the Maldives Islands, on 2018, which was held underwater to communicate the future citizens of the Maldives are on target to inhabit. That sentence is way too long. It needs to be broken down. This is just a draft. So anyway, and then final, which does this thing, ties it all up. In order to save the future for all its inhabitants, Nixon invites his readers to find creative ways to make the invisible visible before it's too late. My suggestion is, of course, you're not going to hit all of these. Or let me rephrase. Do your best to hit as many of these planks as possible, 1 through 5, but keeping in mind, don't spend more than, 30 minutes on this, 45 at the outside. These are drafts, and I just want you to start thinking about ways in which you can put these things together. Okay, so final, MLA, works cited and citation is author, last name, first name, period. Any short title, so article, song, poem, etc., a smaller thing, a piece of the whole, is going to go in quotations. And so what we read is the epilogue, so it goes in quotations. The whole, which is the title of the text, or the book that the piece came out of, is going to get italics. And then you still have to put the city, but you don't anymore. And that's MLA 8. So Harvard, let's try to spell it out. Here, quick note. If you're going to use the UP abbreviation, use it throughout. If not, spell it out. All right, so publisher, date, and then page range. And then to space it, highlight, right click. Oops, sorry. What am I doing? Tired. Oh no. Don't do this. All right, sorry. Thanks for your patience. Paragraph. And then hanging and double spaced. There you go. And if you have like a ton of these, you got to works cited, you got 30 citations, go ahead and do them all at the same time. For further info on MLA stuff, my suggestion would be Purdue OWL MLA. And the Purdue OWL will answer all of your style and formatting needs. All right, thanks for paying attention to that. That's it for this video, and talk to you guys soon. That's it.